The Israeli ground forces have been given the green light to go into Gaza. How will the enemies of Israel react to this? Hey everybody, welcome to Everyman Prepping. Thank you for taking your time out to look at this video. I wasn't going to do one today, but the news is happening so fast. The changes occurring over there in the Middle East are going so quickly that I found these stories I wanted to put out real quick. One of them, of course, being the green light to the Israeli ground forces to get into Gaza and start, going after Hamas. This is going to be a crucial change, heightened escalation, and we need to see how the enemies of Israel react to this. So, really quick video here. I'm going to hit a few stories, let you get on with your day for prepping because, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have Biden coming out saying some stuff that's probably going to cause more world reaction. And who knows what he's going to say besides trying to give away money we don't have. But without further ado, let's get into what I want to talk about really quickly here. And we see here that U.S. bases are hit by drones and rockets in Syria. As, like it says here, the Israeli army is given the green light to enter Gaza. Also, as we go through this, please like the video, share, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. All that great stuff. I really appreciate all that. So, in fact, here, look at a bookmark really quick. We see here, this just came out, like it says, 13 minutes ago. At least 4 attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East have occurred within the last 24 hours. Soon as Israel runs into Gaza with their tanks and troops, you're going to see this pick up. There's going to be a lot of U.S. targets coming out. And not including just on land in Syria, Lebanon maybe, but also on sea. Remember, Hezbollah has anti-ship missiles, and we have a boatload of ships out in the Mediterranean right now. But back to the article really quickly. We see here that U.S. troops in Syria have come under attack. These are by drones, and they might have caused some injuries. They're blaming it on Iran-linked paramilitary groups, and they're against an oil facility in eastern Syria housing American troops. As a side note, you're going to notice here that we have American troops in a sovereign country. We're an occupying force in Syria right now. Doesn't come up much and everything. U.S. talks about other countries occupying other countries, how it's bad, but we're basically an occupying force within Syria, and as we see, we chose to occupy oil fields, basically. So very interesting that we're occupying oil facilities, right? Anyway, that's a story for another video at some other time. But the Al-Tanf Air Base, it's a lone outpost in southern Syria along the Iraqi border. 3 drones were able to fly above the base. Launched several successful attacks. I don't have any photos or video of that. We're just going to take their word for it. It also says the U.S. occupation base, it even says occupation base, at the Conoco oil fields in Deir Azor was also hit by multiple rockets. Two oil facility bases we have in there. I'm sure. Now, they say that the real official reason is to fight terror. Kind of looks like we're guarding oil. But like I said, another story. Anyway, this says here Thursday, which is today, Israel's military has been given the green light to enter Gaza. And I don't know if that came from Netanyahu, if the U.S. gave the green light. Israel's not going to do anything without the blessing of the United States. So maybe it's a joint effort. But they're given the green light as of the making of this video right now. They haven't gone in. As soon as they do, I'll make sure everybody knows through Twitter, which is Everyman Prepper. You can find it in the description. Or I'll just put a community post here as well. I put a lot of news items there if you want to just check out the community section. Anyway, if you want to talk about something from a Israeli, someone in the politician, the economy minister, what he said, hostages and civilians casualties will be secondary to destroying Hamas. I know this is not a military man, but he probably sits in on some conferences. But, according to what he's saying, like I said, he's not part of the military. The hostages and civilians are secondary to destroying Hamas. And then he goes on to further saying that there's miles of Hamas tunnels, and they are going to become the world's biggest cemetery. So yeah, look for a bloody conflict to happen, and also look for Syria, Iran, Lebanon, Hezbollah to all want to get involved and step it up, which further leads into this next story here. The U.S. embassy tells Americans to get out of Lebanon while you still can. And then also 20 rockets from Hezbollah has landed in Israel. 20, very small number compared to the thousands from Hamas, but it's picking up. And you're going to see why it's more of an issue that Hezbollah is starting to do this here in a second. I'll get to that. So it says Biden in private comments told Netanyahu you have the green light, from Washington to launch your offensive. So this article says that Biden gave him the go-ahead, which I don't think Biden makes too many decisions these days. So someone in the White House gave him the go-ahead. Now it says the greater danger from Tel Aviv's perspective, or from Israel's perspective, is that these growing strikes are coming across the border from Lebanon. Because you see down here on the bottom, it says that Hezbollah's capabilities, which includes tens of thousands of rockets, I've heard of upward of like 100,000 rockets they may have in that part of Lebanon, as well as their manpower and technology far surpass Hamas's. And that's why this conflict is very limited up north so far. So Hamas is able to, shoot thousands of rockets, cause a lot of deaths. Well, this here is telling us that Hezbollah, and it's been known since the 2006 skirmish between Israel and Hezbollah, that Hezbollah is much better trained, many more soldiers, better equipment, better weapons. So they're going to have a big problem up there in the north. And I figure we're going to see that as soon as Israel goes in. And who knows how, maybe Hezbollah invades into Israel. I know Israel has evacuated many settlements along that border because that's what they fear Hezbollah will do and try to cause as many casualties as they can. So that's coming up. Lastly, what do we have here? So, all this talk about Israel, Ukraine's kind of fallen by the side, what's going on over there. Well, the United States is going to send Israel artillery shells that are destined for Ukraine. Does this surprise anybody? Not really, because I think we all know the Ukraine war is basically a lost cause. They're not going to defeat Russia unless NATO goes in, boots on the ground themselves. The Ukrainians, they're running out of men, running out of troops. They don't have the weapons, the power to do it unless NATO gets involved directly. So is this U.S. saying that, Ukraine's a lost cause? Maybe, I don't know. Now people are going to say, oh, well, Biden's going to tonight ask for $100 billion and give 60 to Ukraine. That money might go to Ukraine. It might go, laundered somewhere else for Israel. Who knows? But money's not going to solve the problem in Ukraine. That's not the problem they're having, and that's probably why they're moving some of this munitions to the more pertinent war, going to the next war. It says the Pentagon plans to send Israel tens of thousands of 155 millimeter, that's actually what I was part of back there in the Army, shells that have been designated for Ukraine. And this says, why does it matter? Well, the Israeli Defense Ministry of Defense told the U.S. counterparts they urgently need the artillery shells to prepare for a ground invasion of Gaza and also to hold off Hezbollah in the north. And what they did is there was a stash of artillery that the U.S. kept in ammo depots in Israel, and they were going to send those over to Ukraine. Well, they're basically not going to do that anymore and give Israel the access to those shells instead. Whether or not they're really there, if they've been sent or not, they're going to come back, who knows? But as it says here, the ammunition had been designated for the Ukraine as part of the U.S. weapons stockpile, kept in Israel as part of an agreement for both countries, but it looks like they're going to be pulling those back, giving them to Israel instead. Now, doesn't mean that the Ukraine-Russian war is going to quiet down. Russia's pressing on. They're taking over territory. Zelensky over there might try to do something drastic in order to get the focus back on him. Do they attack the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia to cause a nuclear event? Is there a dirty bomb that goes off? Do they send every HIMARS ATACMS they have into Crimea at the bridge? Who knows it's definitely not over there. I just don't think it's winnable unless NATO goes in. And I don't think we want that because definitely that'll be World War III. Now, the last bit I mentioned this a little bit is Biden is talking tonight, and he's going to be talking about giving tons of money, billions and billions of dollars we don't have. I've mentioned this before. I think they're just printing as much as they can because they know the dollar is going to die. Print it to oblivion. Why it's still around? Because it's once it's dead, it's dead. But let's use what we can. I think that's what they're going to do. But I want to point out something here that I've showed a lot of you guys before in the past, and that's this chart here. Let me bring you guys in. So a lot of people, I've told you guys before, all the new subscribers we have, this is the 10-year Treasury bond minus the 2-year. And it's what I call the undefeated predictor of major recessions or depressions coming up. And if you look at the chart, I'll explain real quickly. Every time it goes below the 0 line, so every time the 2-year Treasury it has a higher yield than the 10-year, it's a negative number. You take the 2-year, you take the 10-year yield minus the 2-year. Once it goes negative, every time it's done that, we've had a recession. The gray bars are recessions. So in the late 1980s, into the 90s recession, 2000, 2001, remember that recession? Then we had the Great Recession of 2008 hitting. So every single time throughout history, it goes back into the 70s. Every single time that this has been a negative, we've had a recession. As you can see here, we are in the mother of all negatives, but we're coming back up. because these recessions, they don't happen until the 10-year goes higher than the 2-year, until it crosses the zero line, until it starts going north of that zero line. It sometimes happens within a month or two. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 months. It happens, but it's going to happen. And we're creeping up. We are skyrocketing towards that zero line. And if we look really quickly right now, we can do some math here. The 10-year is almost at 5%. This is the 10-year, and this is the 5-year. The 5-year is at 5.165. Let me do math really quick here. So 5.165, and we'll subtract off the 10-year, which is 4.975. That's 0.19. So we're at 0.19 right now. And here that's 0.28. So we're even closer. We're even closer. And that recession will come once we hit zero. That recession will come. And I think it'll be pretty close to right after it. And it's going to be a big, long one. And as I said, once the 10-year hits 5, I think it's really going to shoot up. I think 5 is kind of the high water mark. It's the resistance point. Once it goes over 5, I think it's going to cross that. And when that does, like I said, it's going to be a few months before that recession hits. So I just want to point that out. What can you do about that? Since it's coming, you know it's coming. You get out of debt. You cut back where you can, because recessions are hard on all of us. You save money. You start thinking about, what can I cut out? What frivolous things, whether it be coffees, going out to dinner, drinks, buying clothes, shoes, subscriptions online, whatever it may be. Start thinking about, make a list of what you're going to knock off, and either now or as soon as we, I'll let you know, as soon as it crosses that line, I'm going to for sure let everybody in the community know that we've now gone positive on the 10-year, 2-year yield, and that recession is right around the corner. We need to get ready for it. Right now, also, you need to get ready for the craziness in the world and the war. Like I put out earlier on the community post, there's a worldwide alert coming out from the State Department, and we'll see what the president says tonight. I'll update you guys. Put anything in the comments below that you have pertaining to this, what you're seeing around, what info you have. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.